But I want to just plant some seeds. I really do. This might even be part two. And I apologize if I seem like I'm rushing, because I am a little bit, because I have something I need to prepare for, because I have a meeting shortly. But I wanted to come on and at least start this conversation with you about self-acceptance and why most people struggle with accepting who they are. So I just want to just drop some nuggets and get you to start thinking about maybe why you might be in that boat. I know that I struggle for sure with self-acceptance for most my life. And I'm just going to paint the picture, okay? I always use myself as the subject and the example so that you can kind of insert your life if it feels like it's similar to your story. So you already know a little bit about my backstory. You know that, my family was pretty much, dysfunctional for sure. We had a lot of neglect going on. I witnessed a lot of abuse. I even was abused later in my life, starting at 16. I was raped. I think I mentioned that before, consecutively for months, by somebody who was close to the family. And then later on, I was raped again, date raped in college. And then in between all of that, in between all of the family dysfunction and the pain and trauma that I personally suffered, I still was dealing with things from my childhood, from being bullied. Okay. So I mentioned that before too. I was bullied for a couple of years by 5 cousins. They were all related, and they chose me to be the recipient of their brutal, and I do mean brutal, they're just beat down every day. They picked me because I stood out. I was different. So think of all of that, what I just described to you. Okay, that's a litany of just a whole bunch of bull. Okay, just a bunch of a bowl of ugly, if you will. Pain, trauma. Nobody really loving on you, and there's no there's no wiggle room for any happiness. And so that was my world for decades. There was always something coming at me, and it always seemed to be something bad, for sure. So I struggled. I struggled with not only being happy, like, I didn't trust happy. Can anybody relate to that? If you're on here, please type if you struggled, or if you are struggling with, you don't trust happy, because happy doesn't last long. Happy doesn't come around often. And when it does, you can't enjoy it because you're waiting for something else to happen. And so that's where I was in my life. Like, I didn't trust happy moments or perceived happy moments. They were far and few between for me. And so because I had all of that going on all the time, I told you yesterday, I really struggled with liking myself, because I felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt like I got that message loud and clear when my dad left. And so I thought to myself, if he left, there has to be something wrong with me. And so that is where a lot of my lack of self-worth and my low self-esteem and all of that came into play, was because when my dad left, he to me was, the symbol of love for a little girl. And so he left, and to me, he never looked back. And that was hurtful, for sure. So when I became an adult, I already had all of this stuff balled up inside me that I never shared with anybody. And I really had the message that I wasn't worthy of anything, I didn't really believe in true love. I felt that, if I had a relationship with somebody, they for sure was going to leave, because that's what men do. So that's what I thought. I already had in my mind that whoever I was in relationship with was going to ultimately leave me, because I was not good enough to have them stay. So you hear how I'm talking? That's how I was thinking. All of this bad stuff. And I'm equating all of this stuff to me not being worthy, right? So maybe you're in a similar boat. Maybe you've had decades of pain and trauma from childhood all the way up until now. Or maybe you're not experiencing it as much now. And if you are, you need to look into that, because you may be recreating what you're used to. And that's a whole nother topic. But I want to talk to you about self-acceptance. Okay? I want you to know whatever it is that you've been through. And I want you to really I'm always giving you homework, but here you go. I want you to get a list. I want you to actually get some paper. And I want you to write down all the bad shit that you've been through. I mean, don't skip over nothing. I don't care. As far back as you can remember, all of this stuff that has happened to you, okay? I want you to write it down. I also, if you were bullied, write that down. I want you to write down all the things that people used to say about you, including your family, including your friends, including people who didn't even know you, but just joined in because everybody else said you were whatever. Okay, they co-signed all of this badness about you. I want you to write all that down. I want you to look at it. The first part of that list, which is where you came from, your family dynamic, all of that stuff that happened, and maybe even beyond that. Guess what? I want you to look at that list. I really want you to look at that list. I don't want you to look at it because we're trying to bring up any pain, even though that may happen. But the reason why I want you to write that down is because I want you to know how strong you are. Because I know you have a list. I know my list is pretty long and extensive. And when I think about everything that I have been through, everything that I have survived, my God, nothing but the grace of God. And guess what? That was pretty messed up, but you're still here. Whatever happened didn't take you out. You are still here. So if anything, if you're letting that pain and that trauma define who you are, you should be doing that. That pain and that trauma is telling you what you are made out of. It didn't take you out. Yes, you may still need to grieve it, but you're still here to grieve it. There are some people who are not, and that's sad, but you're still here. So if you can write down your list of things that you have survived, the things that you have encountered, the things that you have witnessed, and the fact that you are still here, my God, you need to be celebrating that for sure. So for some reason, I'm even baffled by it. And I do this work. We equate our worth. We equate who we are by our pain and our trauma in a negative way, not in the way that I just described to you. And so that is more than likely why you may struggle with accepting who you are. We talked yesterday about self-forgiveness. That's huge. And I hope that you're still doing the prayer that I told you about. It's so powerful. I want you to do that for sure. You have to do it for a week and repeat it out loud 10 times and then move on with your day and really feel it. But self-forgiveness is huge. In order to do that, then you need to be able to move on to accepting who you are. And I put a post up and I said that you were flawsome, but really forget the flaw, because after I thought about that, that's not true. You're not flawed at all. So I'm actually going to take that down, because when I think about, even us saying that we're flawed, we're flawlessly flawed or whatever people say, that's not true, because really at the end of the day, as I told you before, God doesn't make mistakes. He made you just the way He wanted you to be. And you are beautiful and you are brilliant. You are. It's just that life has been trying to tear you down and tell you something different. But that's not true. You are strong and you are beautiful and you are here for a reason. And you need to be able to move beyond all of that, all of this stuff that you've been through. And I'm not taking it lightly. I'm not saying like, get over it, because no, I know that it takes time, depending on what you've been exposed to, what you have endured. It may take some time. But what I'm saying is, as far as the self-acceptance piece, at some point, you're going to have to break your own heart. And what I mean about break your own heart is sometimes we tend to stick to, the pain and trauma and the things that people have said about us to almost give us a pass, if you will. Because people think these things about me, then I'm just going to show up that way. No, you're not. You're not going to show up that way anymore, because it's not true. I want you to know for sure who you are at the end of the day. And like I said, the pain and trauma from before is not defining who you are in this moment, because you're winning. You're still here. You survived the worst. I really want you to get that. So it's really going to be powerful if you can really do the list that I just told you. Create your list. It's probably going to even blow you away of the things that you have really survived and endured, and you're still here. Like I said, there's work to do for sure, but I want you to celebrate this moment right now, that you are still here, breathing, living, and that there is still time for you to heal, for you to do the work necessary, because there's some things that you need to do that are waiting for you on the other side of this. And the pain and trauma, you carrying it, is a distraction. At this point, we cannot entertain any more distractions. Most people who I coach, I can tell you, they have wasted a lot of time. And that is really because they were afraid. They were afraid to face whatever it is that they have been through. But guess what? You're carrying it anyway. You're unconsciously facing whatever you're trying to avoid. It's coming up anyway in your life. In some shape or form, it's coming up. And so what I would love for you to do is to be able to become empowered to really get the tools needed so that you can face it. Like I told you before, just like anything, pain and trauma in healing takes strategy. It does. I don't want you to think that you can just go it alone and, and face whatever it is and be okay, in a couple months or whatever. No, you really need tools, and you need the right tools. And like I mentioned to you before, depending on what you've been carrying and for how long, you need soul healing. Soul healing is the only way that you can embrace and look at your life with a different lens, so that you can take what you need from those experiences, learn from them, and be prepared for the lessons that will come, so that you can elevate your healing even further. It's self-guided healing. So it's not like therapy at all. It's not that you have to wait for an appointment to meet with somebody and basically talk. Like I said, therapy is more so up here. You actually sharing your experience from, your recollection of what happened, your memory. So that's why if you've been in therapy, and most people have been in therapy for decades, and it's barely scratching the surface. They still feel the same. Most people who find me have been in therapy for 10, 15, 20 years. And they're still holding on to an experience that happened to them when they were 7. And they're like in their 40s and 50s. How is that? That's because they've been in therapy talking about it. They haven't been feeling it. They haven't been going down to the core of their soul to extract all of that energy that's been piled up just sitting there for decades. You have to be able to address it. You have to be able to allow it to be released from your soul. And there's a way that you can do that. So if you are interested in learning this, then I would invite you to visit my website, DenineJoyner.com. There you will find so much information about the work that I do, which is all organic, which is all gifts that have been given to me from God and also from my ancestors who were ancient soul healers in their own right. And so I come from a legacy of healers, and I'm proud of that. So I'm proud of the work that I do, because it's not, popping pills and, and going to therapy and living, trying to live with it. I don't want you to live with it. We weren't created to live with the pain. So self-acceptance will come in time. But I want you to be able to understand that the reason why you may struggle with accepting all of who you are, and I mean everything, we tend to just look at the negative part. But you're so much more than that. You have gifts. You have talents and abilities. Why aren't you focusing on that? Because there's so much stuff going on the inside that you need to release and get out so that you can. But I want you to know that there's hope, because there is. I'm not just telling you this. I told you, I have been through the trenches. I carried pain for, oh my God, over 40 years of my life. I didn't start my healing journey until I was 47 years old. And so if I can do it, you sure as hell can do it. And now I have a shortcut, because I actually went through it and actually received the information so that I can share with other people so that they can heal their souls and move on with their life and arrive at their destiny and their calling, which is the only reason why you're here. So I want you to do your homework, write down where you've been, okay? Write it down and look at it. And don't focus, like I said, on so much the pain right now, but just focus on what you've been through. My God. If you were looking at a list from somebody else, if a friend of yours gave you the same list, what would you say to them? You wouldn't be like, oh my God, like, wow, you're messed up. No, you wouldn't. You would be like, oh my God, you survived this? You've been through this? Wow. And you still get up every day and you still do X, Y, and Z, and you still take your kids here and you're still doing stuff for other people. How is that possible? Exactly. Exactly. It's time for you to celebrate where you are right now and where you have been and where you're about to go. That's what I want for you. So I'm getting all hot and bothered. Anytime I talk about this, I get so, because I know what's at stake, and I don't want you to stay stuck. If you believe in God, there's also the devil, for sure. And he's good at and loves to throw salt in the game and loves to keep people suspended in ugly and dark, right? And pain. Don't be fooled by that. You're so much more than that. You are. And I'm here to tell you that in case you forgot. You are. So you owe it to yourself to be able to celebrate everything that you are, including that, all of the stuff that you've been through. Yeah. For sure. But I also don't want you to stay stuck there. At some point, you will have to address some of it, for sure. But for purposes of this evening, we're talking about self-acceptance. And in order to accept who you are, you have to accept all of who you are. You can't just look at, the little pieces that, that kind of light your soul up. I want you to look at it all, because at the end of the day, you can't see it right now because you haven't really possibly done your work, or maybe you have. And if you have, then thank God for that. Then you can chime in and actually tell the other people in this sacred learning village that yes, it's true. It doesn't make sense right now, all of that pain and trauma, but it will. It's like on-the-job training, if you will. You're being prepared for something. Trust me. Whatever has happened to you, you're going to be able to transform that into something powerful and beautiful. And it comes with a story for sure. And that story is going to be able to empower other people who are similar to you, who have also been through similar circumstances just like you. So you have to do it. And not only that, but you need to be able to do it because you need to leave a legacy of healing, not pain, for your family. You may have children. You may have grandchildren. You can't leave it for them. You cannot. It only takes one person to heal. And that changes the entire trajectory for future generations. I hope that it's you. I hope that you are the chosen one in your family to finally say enough is enough, to no longer accept the crazy as crazy and keep moving on with it, to no longer carry what you've been carrying because it's not supposed to be there anyway. You weren't supposed to carry it for decades. So it's time to put it down. It's time to put your big girl and big boy panties on and say enough already. I'm going to do the work, whatever that means. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to stay following this page. I'm going to learn. I'm going to keep my mind open because the things that she is talking about is real. And even if I don't understand it, I'm still going to keep following and listening because at some point I will. That is what I want. That is what self-acceptance looks like. Being open and not rejecting yourself, but embracing yourself, embracing all of who you are. And know that later on, it's all going to make sense. Trust me, it will. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to direct message me through this page. I will respond. If you have any comments that you'd like to share with the group, please post them. I welcome all comments, any recommendations, anything that you've been through that you feel would really be beneficial and enlightening to the rest of our village. I welcome that, okay? Because I really want everybody to be able to engage and share their life and, wherever they are in their journey so that I can help you. I'm coming from a place of love for sure. I want to be able to support you. I work, with clients, and so a lot of their stories, really touches my soul. And, and I know that, there are a lot of people who have accepted carrying pain and trauma because that is what they saw. That is what they know. And there's nobody showing them how to undo it. But like I told you, there's hope with that. Because what I know for sure is that even if nobody ever showed you that you know what's right and what's wrong. And so there's hope. If you can tell me what should have happened in your life, or that shouldn't have happened, or whatever was said to you, which was really mean and ugly, shouldn't have been said, then there's hope for sure. And there is a possibility for sure for you to be able to unpack your life and to literally reparent yourself, because that's what we're all doing. We're all reparenting ourselves because we're all jacked up on some levels emotionally where that is concerned. But we're able to look at it. I want you to be able to look at it for what it is. I want you to be able to understand how you have came to be emotionally. That's what all of this is about. If you can understand who you are emotionally, meaning how you came to be, because of the dynamics that were in your family, you can look at that and you can understand how you were exposed to certain things and why maybe on some levels even today you accept those things. Then that means you're awakening. You're awakening to those things. You're no more asleep. You're no longer asleep to those things. You're no longer allowing it to continue. You want to do something different. And so that's powerful. The fact that you don't want to stay the same, that you know that the things that happened way back when shouldn't have happened. and that you were left really literally on your own to figure things out, and you kept yourself safe. That's another thing I know for sure. So when you write your list at the end of the day, like I said, you're still here. So you're powerful. You're so strong. I'm so proud of you. I am, for surviving whatever it is that you have endured. You know, I mean, don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. You are strong. Even though sometimes you may feel weak because of the fact that you're carrying this and the fact that you have those memories and you know what happened, you're strong. You're not weak. A weak person wouldn't have been able to survive at all. They wouldn't still be able to be here and do the things that you are able to do despite it all. So that's where I'm at. I want you to be able to embrace yourself and give yourself some grace for that. Give yourself some grace. Show yourself some love for still being here despite it all. Okay? I hope that this was helpful. I'll be back on tomorrow to tackle another topic. I'm not sure what that will be just yet, but I'll be here just the same. If there is something that you would like for me to talk about with regards to healing, gifts, ancestry, I talk a lot about spiritual DNA. I haven't gotten to that yet, but that's powerful as well. But if there's anything that you would like for me to speak on, please just put it in the comments and I'll be sure to look into it and hopefully I can tackle it for you. I'm just really, really excited for, where we are headed with healing and just having this discussion with you. Just lets me know that it's needed for sure. I've been getting a lot of comments. I've been getting a lot of engagement. Thank you so much for, letting me know that you're watching and letting me know that this is important to you and your well-being and your healing, and your journey. Like I said, we're all at different levels here for sure, but you're all welcome. And I recognize what it takes to be vulnerable, to even show up, to even listen to something like this, because some people don't even want to listen because they're not ready. They're not ready to open themselves up in that way. But I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're listening. Or if this is a replay for you, I'm glad that you're listening to it. So I'll be back tomorrow. I hope that you have a wonderful evening. I am going to get ready for a meeting that I have, and I'll circle back tomorrow. So until we meet again, peace be with you.